Mullins. Aye. Commissioner Wilkinson. Commissioner Gallagher. Absent. Commissioner
Okay.
Wilkinson, you are the chair today.
Okay, thank you. Harold's out of town with his personal business, and I'm gonna conduct the meeting today, and I ask your patience and understanding, and we'll get through this pretty quick. First, let's all stand for the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we come to you. We ask that you continue to watch over us. We pray for the men and women and children in Nashville. They were hit hard early this morning with the tornado. Please put your holy hands upon them. We pray for this great nation. We pray for our men and women who are serving this great country. We ask all these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
May not be a very long meeting, and we don't have Harold's slideshow, so I apologize for that. He's the one who knows how to drive that. We have consent agenda approval of minutes, and that's, we have a motion to accept the
I move
consent
that we
agenda.
approve the consent agenda.
And I second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed, no. Measure passes. Table agenda items appears none, and to the general business now. Goggin, property waiving penalty and interest. Philip Goggin, is he here?
Yes, sir.
Please come to the mic and say your name.
Yes, good morning. Philip Goggin, owner of Goggin Property Development here in Farmington. First of all, I appreciate the commission's time this morning. I'll be brief and to the point. As you remember, about a month or so ago, I had presented a case to the commission in regards to waiving a penalty for property taxes as it was related to a mailing concern on the post office and so forth, and we had provided evidence of that. So I have not come back to the council simply because I was doing some due diligence on my part. One is I had actually spoke to the Postal Service to find out if policy and procedure had been followed. Can you explain or keep going?
Yes, sir.
Okay, certainly. So I had a chance to speak to Mrs. Williams, Sandra Williams at the post office, who, in reviewing of the case, submitted this letter that if you don't have a copy of, I'll be happy to pass down to you.
That's fine.
Thank you. This letter states that in reviewing of the case, two things were at fault on the post office. One, she admitted that the policies and procedures in place for the U.S. Postal Service was not followed. Therefore, the documents that should have came to me were not delivered in a timely and an appropriate manner. Secondly, she said that one of the issues regarding that particular route in that mail has been scattered at best for that building is the fact that the full-time carrier had left that position to serve in Bonne Terre, and they have been having fill-ins. And she said this is not an excuse, it's simply just factual. I had come back to the commission's office next here and spoke with this young lady, one of the other ladies in the office, to find out, Mr. Mullins, as you know, that when you and I had talked in the meeting, you said that you would follow up with a phone call with me. Regrettably, I received no such phone call. I actually was not aware of the commission's decision to not waive the penalty until the 1st of February when I came back in on a Monday morning and received a copy of the minutes. So I'm not upset and I'm not angry. I'm just frustrated, okay? Mr. Mullins, I did expect a phone call back from you that I did not receive, and had I received that phone call on the 28th or even the 29th of January, I would have gladly paid that bill and not had received a penalty now into February, okay? So I've also put in a phone call to Mr. Gallagher requesting that he review this case again in light of the postal information. I have received no communication back at all from anybody on this commission panel, which is, as a taxpayer, is very frustrating. So anyways, in light of this new evidence that the post office is admitting fault in the situation, I am respectfully asking that the commission reconsider their decision in this. Again, I was not trying to avoid any penalties if it was my fault. I simply feel as if there were things in place that prevented this from being properly followed. And if anything, I would at least ask if the commission is not willing to waive the full penalty, at least consider waiving February, since I received no phone call back on that time to cover that date. So, guys, that's all that I have. Anything I can add or questions I can answer for you?
Well, that was January 21st that you had made the appeal.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
The 28th when it was discussed and decided, really, the practice is that if we've made an error, we'll correct it. If we didn't, it's really hard to do. I mean, this really seems to be a case with the Postal Service, or a case against that, or for your damage or whatever.
Yes, sir.
If the county really didn't do anything wrong, it would be,
Agreed.
it would be out of character, and it'd be really favoritism or discrimination, or whatever you want to call it,
Sure.
to allow it if we weren't at fault.
How much was the February penalty?
Please forgive me,
Just the February portion.
I think it's about $200 approximately. I don't have that figure in front of me. I apologize. And Commissioner Wilkinson, in regards to your comments, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I don't, because I don't know the policies and procedures of how taxes are to be sent to those people, right? For example, I went down to the deeds office to see if my information was on the deed, that there could have been a secondary checkup. My name is not on it, but my personal address is, and so perhaps that could have been cross-referenced quite quickly. And I agree with you that I don't think the commission did anything directly wrong, but neither did I as well.
Please, guys, hold your just hold it down. We can't hear the guy here.
So I'm just saying, I don't necessarily think that the council did anything directly wrong. Neither did I. And I agree with you that, I mean, I can't go to the post office and say, hey, guys, you messed up. Do you mind to cut San Francisco County a check for this amount? But unfortunately, me as a small business, I feel like as I'm getting penalized, even though I've done my due diligence.
Yeah, and we understand, we agree.
You know.
The collector can tell you they get, well, there's many tax bills, and there's many situations.
Totally understand.
And all they've got to go on is what is on their personal properties receipt or.
Sure.
And Commissioner,
Sure.
we acted on this in January, correct?
Yes, 28.
January 20th.
So if you're gonna have discussion, you need to have, you've already had a vote on the one, but the penalty of interest from February after that point, since there may not have been communication, that's something that you could have a motion to table next week. We still wouldn't be into the March, another penalty period, and you can decide whether or not. Or you can decide to take up the issue. You've already voted on it once, but you could have a motion to table whether to get the exact amount of the penalty for the February and act on that next week.
And can I entertain a motion to take?
And that way we can discuss it after that motion.
And for what it's worth, I want to, I'm sorry.
Hold on a second. Did you make that motion?
I made that.
And I
And
second.
you seconded now, you're open for discussion. Go ahead. Sorry.
Excuse me.
And call on Pam Williams there.
Well, if you're talking about since the time he was here, we are into March now. So it's not just February. Have you not paid him at this point?
No, I'm going to, my intention is to pay it immediately. I was waiting for them to respond and the information to come back. So it's not been intention to withhold that. It was simply not knowing if it's appropriate to move forward, but that was my intention to do so.
Well,
Yes.
well, sir, in all fairness, I hope you correct me if I'm wrong. You can pay that, and then if there's action on it, that can be refunded.
Yes, sir. That was actually discussed, and that was my intention. I had to simply, because it's coming out of funds, do a loan with the bank. That's all being handled. So I've put in those for those documents to be paid for. So I'm simply just waiting for that check to be released. Again, I'm not trying to avoid any penalty. I just was hoping, you know.
Can you be here next Tuesday at the meeting?
I believe so, yes, sir. And I wanted to apologize. The reason why I wasn't here on this 28th, I was actually out of town on work, and so I couldn't
Okay,
be
well,
here.
I'm sorry that we
We'll
didn't
put that on the
return the phone
agenda.
call.
Thank you, sir.
But that'll be acted on, or discussed at that time.
If this passes, it will be
Yeah.
under table
Table agenda item.
agenda items.
Okay, so any other discussion? All in
Yeah,
favor?
you guys waived a tax bill for a lady over in Deloge on Parkside. She actually is my neighbor behind me. What's the
What's
difference
what?
between
What's the
him
question?
and,
I'm not sure what the question is.
why did you guys waive hers and,
Couldn't say, sir.
Pam, I can
I mean, I can supply the video. We could be able to watch it.
I'm pretty sure we would follow the practice that if we made an error, we'd correct it. If not, we really, it's not a question, it's not a county question.
Why don't we find out the details on that
Yeah.
for next week when we, and then we can address why that would have been a different situation.
Any other discussion?
May I ask a question to Ms. Williams? Is that right, Mrs. Williams? Out of curiosity, and you brought a point that there are thousands of tax bills, and so I understand that you cannot track down every individual case. I understand that becomes a staffing and time issue, so I respect that. Is there a particular policy or procedure that says when a bill comes back in because it couldn't be delivered, are there specific guidelines or steps that your office follows to track that person down?
We look to see if there's any other tax bills out there that have a different address.
Okay,
If it's personal property, if the assessor's office has a phone number,
okay,
then we try to contact them by phone.
okay,
So, we try those different means.
okay.
But however, so many people that the taxes come back, they don't even live in this county.
Understandable. Would it be uncommon to call down to the deeds office to see if there's a secondary address?
No, because if they had an address, the assessor should have it.
It would be in the system.
Okay, well, and so the reason I bring that up is because I wanted to verify that perhaps was my name on the deed, because had my name been on the deed as opposed to the business, I don't think we'd be having this conversation today. However, my home address is on that deed, and so I just wondered, you know, because that, if you'd, I say you, but the office in general had cross-referenced that, it would have come up to me, and to me, that took me 30 seconds to find. Now, again, I'm not pointing fingers at all, I'm just trying to understand, you know, to me, that would have been a simple reconciliation.
Well, it's my understanding that they exhaust the available information, but you get to a point where there's, where do you go and then you?
Well, and I agree with you, sir. However, 30 seconds at the deed office found my secondary address, and that would have easily cross-referenced to me, no questions asked. And I appreciate the collector's efforts, I really do. I understand that your job is tedious. That's all I have. I appreciate the commission's
Well, if you can
time.
be here next Tuesday, we will.
Yes, sir.
We'll bring the item up.
I will.
Okay, so any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
All right, thank you all for your time.
Thank you, sir. Beg your pardon?
I'm presenting for number 2.
Okay. We have next Envision waiving penalty and interest. Scott hand wage down, but.
Yeah, but I've been asked to bring up what their argument is. Envision Leasing, Farmington LLC mailed a check number 1086 dated 12/19 in the amount of $11,071 for a parcel number, that doesn't matter here. The check was not signed, and there was no phone number on the check. The postmark on the envelope was 12/20. It was mailed back to them in late December. They returned the check, signed to us with the postmark on the envelope. We kept the envelopes dated February 4th. The person was told of Envision that this was not acceptable, the original amount, because now it's February. And she called and said it was not fair because she made a mistake, but getting penalized January and February she didn't think was fair. She stated they have trouble receiving mail because of different parts of their building. Once again, she's saying that it was in the post office delayed it, but she didn't get the check back for 40 days, and Pam will respond to her side of that.
As far as I can see, the county had no error in this at all. The procedure is, if we get a bill that's unsigned, or, I'm sorry, a check that's unsigned, we try to call them. If there's no phone number available, then we have to mail it back.
Approximately how many did you receive that last week of December? Payments?
Tax bills? Oh, how many trays? Several trays of mail.
Several thousand.
Large trays of mail.
So it would be your decision whether to allow, because she forgot to sign the check,
The county's not at fault, correct?
she's not even claiming that, no.
Okay, well, we can do this in a positive way. I would move that we waive the penalty and interest on,
Thank you. Can you turn your microphone
oh,
on?
sorry. I would move that we waive the penalty and interest on said person.
And you're doing that tongue in cheek,
Yes.
okay?
And I'd second the motion.
And
Any discussion on this?
so the vote would be the,
Okay.
taken out.
So we have a motion and a second to waive interest and penalty for the Envision request. Go ahead,
May I please?
sir.
She acknowledged the mistake. The check wasn't signed. There was no phone number on it. The county got it back to her as quickly as they could.
The intention of a motion that's made in tongue-in-cheek is for them to vote no. Would that be
Well,
decided?
I'm just trying to understand what the motion means.
Well, the motion is to consider the request.
And if it's voted no, then
It fails.
Then it fails, and that ends it.
But it's a more positive response to the request rather than, nah.
Thank you.
That's quite right.
You can call the question.
Yeah, no other discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. No. So that measure fails. Okay, thank you. We have a report from James Crump, jail administrator. Can you come to the microphone?
Sure. Good morning. Can everybody hear me okay?
Hold on a second. Since we record everything, we want to make sure.
Oh, okay, that was gonna
that's-
be my question.
There you go.
Out there and be able to talk. I had been assessing, over almost a month of security and procedures at the jail. As far as I call it the security envelope, it's divided into two. You have the booking area, and then you have where the offenders are housed. As far as the area where the offenders are housed, it's safe, it's secure, and that has led, of course, to, I'm not gonna say it, but it's safe and secure. I don't wanna jinx myself.
Excuse me, that's safe and secure for the employees?
Employees and offenders, both.
Okay, good.
As far as procedural stuff, you look at certain inmates' rights, which has to do with food, visiting, access to medical services, and also access to the courts. Everything there is going fine. I've kind of stepped up how they access the court, assisting myself, and it may be something simple as copying state statutes when they request it off the internet and getting that to them. Another thing I accomplished was a key audit. Keys are very important. Right now, it's all tracked by paper. Who has what keys? I would like to enhance that somewhat. There's a thing called a key watch system. Unfortunately, it's pretty pricey, but it's an electronic machine that would be kept outside the security envelope, where keys are on a special holder placed inside this machine and then behind a secure door. So this has a touchpad, so you decide what access, what people have to what keys. Instead of people having to take them home, put them in their pocket, they come in, they put in a 4-digit number, the door will pop, and then it lights up where their key is, and they're able to remove it. Part of this is also, it comes with software that you can run at the end of a shift, and it will tell you what keys have been returned and what hasn't. You can say this person gets keys from here to here, and they're able to get in, get the keys, and if they're not returned, this goes off and allows you to know, an audible alarm also.
I'm just for clarity,
Sure.
these are keys to the,
Everything, it'd be the offices. The only thing you could put on there is, any key that does not access an outside door. Okay, is what that's the biggies, is the outside door. So whoever's coming in on a shift, whatever it may be, they put that number in, get their keys out, and it's accountability.
and currently they take them home with them?
Office key doors
Okay.
is the only thing. And that's still not an issue, but you put them on a ring and make sure that it's a sealed ring, so keys can't be taken off. And also it's marked with a number, and that's a permanent key ring. So one of the things I'd like to get going is just the accountability, again, the funding for the machine. And be willing to talk about it later. I'm trying to solicit bids for that. Another thing I'm looking at is staff training, which is very crucial. The jails have to hire recruits from the police academy. That being, anybody at any time may have to escort an offender outside the institution. If they do that, they need to be armed. So when they come out, they're not actually getting the detention officer training. I've laid in front of you training that's provided by the Missouri Sheriff's Association. It's being hosted this time by the Washington County Sheriff's Department. It's actually 40 hours, but it's done in 2 separate 2.5-day trainings. Being in Washington County, they have access to it. There's no hotel fees and no meal fees, saving those monies for the county and for the taxpayers. Also, I'm looking at, I'm sending 4 officers to that. I can spare 4. Also, I'm looking to host it. When you host it, you get X amount of seats for free. So I'm working with the Sheriff's Association to see what continuing needs are. But again, that's going to save us tuition, it's going to save us hotel, and it's going to save us for meals for the employees, the expenses.
How many people do you have to host? I mean, how many people are there? How big a room?
Minimum of 10. If you can get over that. But nobody offers it in this
We
area.
would offer it in this room?
We would offer it at the jail.
Or it would
The
have
big
to be the
meeting
jail?
room?
Okay,
Yes.
you've got enough facility there.
Yes, and the Missouri Sheriff's Association will advertise this for us. It'll be on their website. They send out blast emails, and we would pick up this region. Nobody else offers this training. Not Matt, not Jeffco, that it actually comes from the Missouri Sheriff's
So
Association.
would you be contacting Sheriff Stolzer from St. John?
Absolutely, every surrounding county.
Okay.
What I'd like to do first is get a commitment
Mhm.
on how many they would send in surrounding counties. But then again, they send out the blast because that training is not readily accessible in this area. I'd say in southeast Missouri, you're gonna pull from several places. So not only am I helping us, that staff, it's other counties as well.
Are there annual requirements for continuing education for the law enforcement? Would this go toward that or satisfy that?
Yes, anybody who has a post license, which in the state of Missouri, you must possess that to be a police officer, sheriff's deputy. You have to have 24 hours a year of continuing education credits. Sending them to this training will satisfy that for those detention officers. It is post-certified. Again, saving money. Myself, I'm going to a jail administrators training geared at legal issues and liability issues involved with the jail. That's very important to keep you updated on offender rights, current lawsuits, anything dealing with legal obligations and liability issues faced by the jail. 23 years experience in corrections. I have that knowledge, but as far as jails or detention centers, I think there may be some differences that I need to educate myself on. That is in Columbia, again put on by the Missouri Sheriff's Association, and it's a 2-day training. Let me check that agenda here. The NIC, the National Institute of Corrections, is a federal agency that is tasked with assisting jails and prisons. I've tapped into the resources there. They're going to assist me in updating policies, procedures within the jail, and writing new policies and procedures to make sure we're current on our policies and we're within legal guidelines on what we do. Also, I'm looking at NIC for training for staff and offender relations, communications, this type thing. It's free through the NIC. It's an online course. It's done in 3 parts, which also will go towards their post-credit notes you take it. Another one is suicide intervention and prevention. Not only is it doing the suicide watch for a suicidal inmate, it's also seeing the signs. Training like this is gonna be mandated yearly. They update it, so I'm gonna track staff going in and make sure that they're taking this training, along with other things like first aid, CPR is important to have training on every year. As in use of force, staying up. Laws are changing on use of force consistently. So we wanna make sure that anything that could cause legal issues, liability issues, or be a problem for staff and offenders, we want to make sure we stay up to date on that.
You have certainly hit the ground running, haven't you?
Yes, it's going to be baby steps. The sheriff has turned me loose.
That's
He's
good.
got full faith and confidence in me, which
This commission knows you, knows your experience, knows your integrity.
I appreciate that, and I just want to express that. I'm going nowhere for Ford. I love it. I just want to say that. That's my passion. That's my, in helping staff. It's been real receptive to that, the staff.
Good. Well, thank you so much for your report. I don't mean to cut you off, but is
No,
that-
I got another hour to go. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate your time and trouble. Okay, next on the thing is the bid award for 6 AEDs. This will be the Emergency Management Director, Dan Duncan.
Commission, last week we opened several seal bids for this AED project, and we have decided that we were going to go with Allied 100 AED Superstore for the purchase of 6 fully automatic Zoll AED pluses with the wall cabinets at a price of $1,149.99 a piece for a grand total of $6,899.94. 3 of those will be located over at this facility. 3 will be located across the street at the, 2 will be located across the street at the Sheriff's Department, County Courthouse, 1 at the Weber Road facility up front. These are not replacing the ones that are at the Sheriff's Department. They've got some more that's back there.
Yeah, say that again, who is that with?
AED Superstore and Allied 100. They're located out of Wisconsin. They were the lowest bid, and plus they included actually the cabinets were included in the price.
And what was the total amount?
$6,899.94. And it's my recommendation to you that we approve their.
And this is a budgeted items.
This is the budgeted items.
On the recommendation of our emergency director and IT director, Dan Duncan, I would move that we purchase from Allied AED in the amount of $6,899.94.
Not second your motion. Is there any discussion on this? Now, there's one at the Road and Bridge one currently, and there's one at the jail.
One at the Road and Bridge one.
And the service or the review of those keeps them updated and
I'm
everything's
not
on
sure
the
who
same.
maintains the one at Road and Bridge in the
Ambulance
Sheriff's
district.
District. Ambulance district. And the ambulance district, Mr. Tetwell has advised that once we do get these new AEDs in our
They routinely
arsenal,
check them in.
they would also routinely check them in as well. So, and with that, a little bit on what Jamie had said as far as CPR training, once we do get these devices in, we have a budgeted amount to start providing CPR training this year
That's a move in
for
the right
all
direction.
county employees, so.
Any
that
other
will be coming
discussion on this?
this year.
Did you second that?
Abram?
Did you second the motion?
I did.
Okay.
Any other discussion on this? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? There being none, the measure passes. Thank you. While you're there, there's a bid award for computer replacement. If you wanna go ahead with that.
Yes.
You got a picture of someone.
We've received several bids last week on this project as well. This is another annual budgeted item that we do within the county. And we have decided to go with the business development from Office Depot Office Max. Their bid for 50 of the Dell OptiFlex 3070s. Again, we like to keep the same type of model within our IT arsenal that way.
Budget is obviously.
It is a budget item, and their total price was $669.90 for each new computer, for a total of $33,495.00. And it's my recommendation that we do go with the bid for Office Depot Office Max.
And as was noted, it is a budgeted item
It is a
expected.
budgeted item.
That's Office Max.
Office Max, yes.
Okay,
On the recommendation of our IT director, Dan Duncan, I would move that we pursue the bid with Office Max for the 50 budgeted item for the computers, $33,495.
And I'd second that motion. Any discussion? I think this is
I have-
part of the annual replacement stuff.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. On your bid process, did you send bids out to all companies relating to that, or did you just?
We had a lot of, when we put the bids out, we put them on the website, and then we typically advertise to the ones, our previous vendors, because we like the model that we currently have been using the last few years.
We had about 10
and
bidders.
We had several folks that did inquire about it, and we sent them the information as well.
Because I understand Hensco Technology has never been involved in any of those bids.
It's been, when we post them, you know, to the
Did we
website.
end up with 10 bidders or 11?
There was probably 10 or 11 bidders that we received, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor of this measure, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, the measure passes too. Thank you, Deanne. Okay, any correspondence? Any public comment? Please, sir.
Yes. I just have one. I was wondering if I could ask a question to Ms. Williams or to the council. Mrs. Williams, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be disrespectful. You would, I think someone had mentioned that in the process of my concern that they tried to call me and could not find any phone number and so forth. As I was sitting down, I wondered, how did the county call me to verify my address? How were they able to call me in the first place, but then somehow couldn't call me to verify the address?
I'm maybe not real clear. Is that on personal property?
This is in regards to the incidents that I spoke about earlier. Yes, they had called me to verify, do I want the personal property for 101 Hyler sent to that address or to a different one? So they called me to ask which address they wanted.
Would that be your office or who?
So I
would
was
that be?
curious.
Assessor?
I can't answer that exactly. I would have to go back and look and see.
Okay.
Try to keep documents of where we got the number or.
Certainly. And it was just a last minute question, because I thought if they couldn't reach me, how did they get a hold of me in the first place? So
Maybe you could visit the collector's office.
I'd be happy to. Yes, all right. Thank you all.
Thank you very
And
much.
also, Mr. Engler, the copy that I gave you for the letter, that was my personal copy. I'm happy to provide another copy if you would
I have
like.
a copy.
Oh, you have a copy? Okay. Can I just come by and grab it from you if that's okay, or? Okay, great, thank you. Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any department report?
Next week, we have bids.
The
That will
annual
be
bid.
the annual bids for all the things that will be opening the same day that we have the presidential primary. We are currently, just for the public's knowledge, we are currently doing absentee balloting for both the presidential preference and the April 7th local ballots that are on there. And we are still looking for some substitute poll workers. It's very difficult. We're sending out the letters this week. We have to have a balance between Democrats and Republicans. This time of year, some of our senior citizens are down south, or they may be sick or whatever. Somebody just called and said, well, my husband can't work because he had a heart attack last week. So I mean, we're trying to fill all the slots. We've got them full right now, but I anticipate, like every year, on Monday, Friday, or Monday, there will be people canceling. So we need some people that can do that.
And I've had people ask me how they can serve in a function. This is a perfect example how they can do community service and they can
And-
serve a wonderful purpose. So I would encourage.
And still make $120. So
Yeah.
that was increased last year, and so now it's not, we're not paying a huge amount, but we're paying a better amount. And so we're hoping some people will help us run the elections.
Okay, any other department report?
I've got one back here.
Sure.
I'd like to introduce our newest member of our committee.
Yeah.
Our newest member of our IT department. This is Jessica Monjoulet. She comes to us with several years of experience working with IT and also in the business administration background. She just started yesterday, but I'd like to just introduce her fully as our newest full-time IT staff member. So,
Yes.
Forgot to say, this Saturday, on Weber Road, Election Central will be open from 8 until noon. The Saturday always prior to the election for somebody that has an absentee request that can't get to the poll, and it's easier for them to get there on the weekend. So by statute, we have to be open from 8 till noon on the Saturday prior.
Yes, sir, Luke.
Commissioners, we are completing a review of the inventory and assets in the various departments. We finished Weber Road yesterday. We will be finishing the juvenile department on Thursday. We'll be in the sheriff's department on Friday. And we also welcome Daniel Jones, our external auditor, who arrived this morning to begin reviewing the reports that everyone has signed off on for 2019.
Okay, thank you for that report. Any other business to come before today? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. And I'd second that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And no opposition, thank you folks, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Yes.